Hey everybody, welcome to Teal Tinted Glasses episode 23. We were hoping that Kevin would be here at the start. Kevin said that he was really dicey about today, so he said like if we started a little bit later, he probably would make it. But he said like he might come on early and leave early, and that's cool. Obviously people, hey, and there he is. Like as I make all the excuses for starting late, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Kevin Lacey. Comes in with the profile picture on the bottom there, which means he's not ready yet. So I will throw it to first. First, I want to say just thanks for being here, and sorry for not being around last week. Life happens, so it's good, but it's good to be back on the air. I know a lot has happened. Joining me tonight, as always, is Mr. Hockey Jerk. Mr. Hockey Jerk, how are you this fine evening?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
I'm all right, actually. I can't complain too much. You're older, and I don't feel any different.
Right. That's right.
Don't feel a day over 57. Oh, I see we are having odds in the chat about coaches getting fired. I'm gonna go.
Better be careful. You want.
Oh, I know. We haven't gotten anyone fired yet, though.
Yeah. Well.
The Jets are actually doing good again, doing good now. So Palm Reese isn't going to get fired, maybe.
Right.
So I guess we could turn our attention. I think Alain Vigneault is my odds-on favorite coach to get fired this year. I think he's the guy that's gonna, if the axe is gonna fall on somebody, I think Alain Vigneault is almost certainly that guy.
Alain Vigneault is absolutely going to be the first coach who gets fired this season from the NHL. Can't wait to soundbite this.
There you have it, Mr. Kevin Lacey. How are you, sir?
I'm doing okay. I'm trying to get myself all settled here, so just bear with me. But yeah, glad to be on. I'm going to be on as much as I can here tonight. I might have to step away here and there, but
that's all right. Let me know when you're ready to go, and we will.
Get
the conversation started.
Fire away. The fans await. The fans
await. I know. So I guess the biggest news that happened since we've been off the air for a week is Vegas. I mean, Vegas just continues to be the story in the NHL, whether they're, they've fallen back to earth a little bit now. I guess being on your fourth goaltender will do that to a team after they lost their starter, and then they lost their backup, and then they lost their backup. Now they're on the backup. Do I got that right? That sounds like I said enough backups there.
It's definitely been a committee effort 12 games into the season. But, somehow they were finding a way to win. And like you said, they're starting to come back down to earth. And I would think if you're a Vegas fan, I think you're hoping that, hoping Malcolm Subban or Oscar Dansk can get back soon, or even Marc-Andre Fleury. But last I read, Fleury didn't go with them on the road. So
right. Yeah. Fleury, obviously a history of concussion issues, and that's problematic. It's interesting though, how I want to build them a goalie preserve, a safe place for Vegas goalies to live and because they need it clearly. They can't, someone's got to keep these goalies safe. They're clearly getting hunted out in the wild, so we need a Vegas goalie preserve. Who's gonna help me? I just need 50.
I'm with you.
50 cents. Cup of coffee, the price of a cup of coffee a day, can build a Las Vegas goalie reserve.
Is that 50 cents American?
It's 50 cents, whatever. You know what? It could be. It probably should be, because 50 cents American is worth more than Canadian. But you know what? For 50 cents a day, you can save a Vegas goaltender.
Man.
We said it on the show. Hi, by the way, folks, I'm at Kevin Lacey 22. Glad to be officially now with you guys. We said it a few weeks ago about what was Vegas thinking with Calvin Pickard getting traded to Toronto. It seemed mind-boggling why you'd trade your bona fide backup goalie for any other untested options. Subban aside, who looked good for Vegas, and then right after, now the rash of injuries. It's just wow. For a team who is based in a city on luck, this is certainly rotten, the worst rotten luck I think I've ever seen for one position. My question is, should they add another goalie?
Can they? Like, do they have the space? Here's the problem, right? I mean, this is a team that's still carrying 9 defensemen on their active roster. Can they even add a goalie? Like, do they have enough contract space to add a goalie?
That's what I was going to say is like, even if they wanted to, as soon as one of their 3 goalies gets healthy, they're going to be in the same position they were in, when they were sending Theodore and Shipachev and Tuck down to the AHL. It's going to be the same thing all over again.
Right. I agree. However, like to look on the other side of it is, would you rather have 3 goalies eating up roster space or 19 defensemen? Because I mean, obviously it's not 19, it's like 9, but still I think they could get the salary space to add a guy like, I'm not saying this is a great option, but Rob Amon asked me last night actually about Michael Hutchinson, and that's exactly who I was thinking. Why not for Vegas? Sure, you're going to get stuck with him, and he's going to be of no use to you in a few weeks, but is having John Merrill and Griffin Reinhart got sent down now, but Merrill and Reinhart being on your roster doing absolutely nothing a better solution than having a bona fide backup goalie at least? I'm not going to call Hutchinson a starter, but
no, but I mean a backup for sure. Like a bona fide backup, I would give Hutchinson that. Soon enough they'll pick a member of the crowd. It's Vegas. I mean, you might, that might be. Oh, look, it's everyone on black wins, and also you're a Golden Knight for the evening.
Woo!
Like just the random spin of the roulette wheel, and bang, you won your bet, and you get to suit up for the Golden Knights this evening and goal. How does that feel? Like, it's Vegas, anything could happen.
It's true.
I don't know. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, this whole thing doesn't make sense to me in Vegas. I mean, there's a lot of things that really make me scratch my head. I wrote about it last week or earlier this week, maybe. I don't even know what time. The days, they just blur together now. About obviously the Shipachev situation, which I think was
great article, by the way.
Thank you. Which I think was just grossly mishandled. Mishandled.
Oh yeah.
And it's interesting though, because I mean, obviously on the Shipachev angle, we can probably do that for a second quickly. He hasn't actually been placed on waivers yet, unless he's like says specifically though, like I am only going back to Russia. Like I don't want to play at all, which I haven't heard him say yet. Like, how does a guy like Shipachev clear waivers? Especially if you're a team like if you're like the Hurricanes or the Sabres, doesn't like Shipachev, like, wouldn't that be like a godsend for your team? Especially like a team like Carolina, who I think, is doing pretty good. Everything from the blue line back is basically set. You're telling me that Carolina wouldn't be set with a Shipachev?
This is the vindictive GM in me. But if I was another GM, I'd be like, go ahead and clear waivers and make Vegas pay the money and then sign Shipachev to under their own terms. Sign him to a different contract. And
I don't think his current terms are bad though. What, 4.5? I think
he is still an unproven player at the NHL level. I don't disagree. I think it's still a fine contract, but he's still unproven. But I mean, like, I'm just of the point of make Vegas spend their money on Shipachev so they can't spend money on a player I would want later.
Right.
So that's why I say I'm just kind of vindictive in that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see him. Like, I think that, when you look at what he's done, like, it's not like Shipachev's like this complete unknown.
No.
Like we've seen him tear up international best on best. We've seen him do really well. He scores other guys that have scored at the rate in the KHL that like he have been successful in the NHL. Obviously Kovalchuk was very successful in the NHL. Alexander Radulov has had has had a good season this season so far, and he had a really good season last year considering the supporting cast he had in Montreal. So in my opinion, I mean, like, I would, if I'm a team that needs that extra little offensive punch and I have the cap space, I'd totally roll the dice on that.
Yeah, I agree. Especially like you said, he, in the KHL and internationally, he's been, a high level above average player. And, I think as much as it didn't work out in Vegas, I still think there are 30 other teams who would love to take a gamble on that. And, obviously I don't think it would work out just because of roster spot reasons and necessity. But how fascinating would it be if the Florida Panthers were able to get Shipachev and Dadonov back on a line together?
Yeah, no, that'd be silly. Like, I don't know. It just seems to me like, and obviously this is why Vegas hasn't done this yet, because obviously there's probably a bunch of teams circling that and licking their chops, being like, yeah, please put this guy on waivers. I have cap space. I'll take him. Because what's the worst thing that can happen? You have a 2-year contract, big deal. Like, in the grand scheme of things, that's nothing in the NHL. You can buy that out.
I mean, we've seen this so much out of this team that I'm going to mention. It's like enough's enough at some point. But cap space aside, the New York Rangers could use a player like Shipachev because they are dying without Derek Stepan. And I don't think it's only the loss of Stepan, but they are just abysmal without him. So they need another center, and adding Shipachev seems like a no-brainer if they can make it work under the cap for the Rangers.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And I mean, not to say that Mika Zibanejad is a bad center. I think
he's like the one bright spot on that team.
Well, and that's what I'm saying is he's doing really good for them. But at the same time, I have to think there's a part of them that's missing Derek Brassard as well. No?
Yeah,
definitely, absolutely. So I mean, so back to the Golden Knights here, quick. Golden Knights, they're using Maxim Legacy, interesting guy, who hasn't really. I mean, I'm looking right now, and I don't think he's won a game for them yet.
No, he is. Max Lagacé is officially, or Lagacé. It's hard. I can't even get his name straight. Is officially the losingest goaltender in the history of the Vegas Golden Knights.
So for those that don't know who this guy is, this is a guy who failed to get he went to 2 teams for his overage season in the queue and got cut from 2 teams before he found a landing spot. Yeah. Just to kind of give you an idea of how good, I shouldn't say that facetiously, but he's not a great guy. Like he's your typical AHL ECHL journeyman guy. Like he has no business being in the NHL. So and we're finding that out really quick as the goals against.
Yeah, have you guys I've seen the Vegas games in New York, and Lagacé was pretty rough. Like it was like, man, they can't get anybody else. Like I'm sure he's a great guy off the ice, but
that's the mandatory for being a bad player. You have to be a good guy off the ice. It seems like they go hand in hand. When have you ever heard of a bad player who's a jerk off the ice?
You have to be a future coach.
Right. No, exactly. I watched the Islanders game.
Okay. I watched the Rangers game.
Rough.
Yeah.
It was like breakaway scores, repeat 6 times.
Yeah. Yeah. They have to do something. And even if they add another AHL goalie, because Lagacé, like you said, borderline AHL, ECHL guy, he was towing the 2-3 line for the Texas Stars last year.
Right.
So oh man, all power to them. And then the poor Chicago Wolves. I mean, how do you think they feel? Because they're borrowing ECHL. What's that? Right?
But they have a double affiliation, don't they?
Yeah, but the thing is that the Blues, because Vegas had the goaltending situation tied up, the Blues sent Husso to San Antonio, and Binnington went to Providence because Providence lost Subban.
Right.
So they loaned him to. So right now the Wolves are using Kazimir Kaskisuo, the third goalie for the Marlies, and CJ Mott, an ECHL guy.
Right.
So.
I remember. Husso was really good against the CUDA.
Wait, what?
Husso when they played.
Oh, Husso. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's a mess. Obviously, here's the thing for me though. I don't know if they really need to do anything though. Like this team,
they're still 10-3 or 9-3.
I know they're 9-3.
Whatever they are.
Does anyone really expect that to sustain? Did anyone expect that to sustain through the season?
No.
No, not at
No,
all. And
I
I think
mean, yeah, I think you let it ride. I mean, obviously you want to put butts in the seats, and I get that aspect of it, but
Hey, at least here we are, November 2nd, and we're still talking about the Vegas Golden Knights. And we're not talking like, well, their season's over. Like, forget that.
that's next show.
This isn't Atlanta Thrashers here where it's like Dean Sylvester's their best right wing. We might as well not talk about them the rest of the year. Like,
Yeah.
they were still talking about a lot of Vegas stuff positively. So it's awesome.
That's true. No, it's true. I mean, for all the flack that I've levied at them for the Shipachyov situation, otherwise, I mean, it's been a good story. I mean, when you consider what that city has gone through this, like, since the start of the season, that was just what the city needed. And I think it's you can't argue with that, like, with what they've done. I think it's great. I think it's exactly what the city needed. I think, there's the emotions that were riding high, and they really were able to capitalize on that in a positive way. So, I mean, kudos to them. I didn't think it was going to be this sustainable thing. I mean, obviously, look, your goaltending duo now is you have a ECHL, AHL kind of, caliber guy. And then you got Dylan Ferguson, who I don't know a ton about, but I mean, he's still playing juniors for probably a reason. Like, he's an emergency call from juniors. So, and not to just be like, oh, well, junior goalies are bad. It's just goalie is the one position where you generally don't just jump in.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Dylan Ferguson the goalie that Dallas drafted 4 months ago?
Yeah, I wanted to go off tangent for a second. I heard a funny story about Dylan Ferguson, to where he got drafted by Dallas, as Hockey Jerk just said. And they sent him a jersey, like, by FedEx or something, like, welcome to the team kit. And then they traded him to Vegas the next day. So I guess like a week after the trade, in his mailbox, he suddenly gets this Dallas Stars jersey. And it's like, welcome to the team. And all this is just like, the hell?
Right. And so far, so Kamloops this year, and he hasn't really done very well in Kamloops this year after being drafted. Last season, he had a 2.74 GAA and a .922 save percentage, which is actually really good for junior. This year, before he was called up, he had a 405 goals against average and an 878, which is not good. Even in junior, that's bad. It should feel bad. So that's a rough pair of goalies that they are trying to make it work with, and I give them all the credit in the world for what they've done. But man, they're in. I mean, this road trip alone, I think, like, this month alone, even forget the road trip, this month alone, I think was going to really kind of expose what kind of a team they were, as far as, are they a real, competitor, or are they, just riding a hot start? I mean, we've seen so many teams in history come out to, just bang on fire in the first 10 games. And then either, I believe Edmonton a couple years ago was out of the gate rock solid 10 games in, and then, pick Nail Yakupov. So, I mean, it's just how those things go. Right. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like, I'm glad that they've kind of started doing the things they needed to do, though. Putting people down in the minors so that better players can play, I think, is important. Which is why it just drives me crazy when you hear, like, this nonsense that they're peddling out. And of course, people are eating up about, oh, well, Shipachyov's not good. He just doesn't fit in the system. Russian, and it pains me that how quickly people gobble that crap up. Because it's not right. Like, it's just dumb.
Well, and I mean, for how many years have the three of us talked about small sample size? I mean, how many games did he play with Vegas? Like
3 games, 1 goal, +3.
Yeah, like one. I mean, again, small sample size, but if you're scoring 1 goal every 3 games, that's not awful for your, in air quotes, rookie year. Right.
It's not like this, like, it's funny because, like, with Shipachyov, like, this isn't some 20-year-old kid coming over that has to learn, how to play the adult game. who's coming from a
Right.
weaker European league. This guy's one of the top scorers in the KHL. And yes, the KHL is an inferior league. There's no question about that. But, you still look at the clip that he was scoring at, and then you look at other players who have scored at that clip, and he's in very, very, very good company of players that have done quite well in the NHL. So I think just kind of goes back to that whole thing. And then, you look at the other thing with Vegas was they took on, they have Jason Garrison counting, I think, almost $4 million against their salary cap sitting in the minors right now. And I pointed this out in my article too. And in order for Vegas to take Garrison, the Tampa Bay Lightning gave them the rights to a player called Nikita Gusov, who also played with Shipachyov, and now they completely screwed that. Like now they have a guy that they took hoping that they could use Shipachyov to lure Gusev over, and now that's pretty much
yeah. I loved that you used that. That was my favorite part of your article, was that you used that angle, because I knew about, or I had heard about the how are other imports going to view Vegas, but I didn't even think about Gusev, because he's a guy who's always been viewed pretty much his whole career as being one of the future best players outside of the NHL, but he has seemed to never have any desire to come to North America.
Right. And that's,
like you said, Shipachyov is like the one guy who might have been able to pull him out of Russia, and they killed that.
Yeah, they really, and to take on that contract to do it as well. I mean, you just, I don't know. It's just been ridiculously brutal asset management. But I mean, this is the general manager that did trade Martin Urat for Phil Forsberg. So,
oh God,
just saying. All right, we should probably move on. Guys, the Sharks don't suck anymore.
I know. I was talking to a customer today at work about that.
They don't suck
incredible.
Anymore. It's amazing. Of course, now that they don't suck, what happens? Vlasic's, God knows what's going to happen to Vlasic. So
that was bad. That was a bad hit last night. I mean, it wasn't it wasn't like, I didn't think it was a dirty hit. Like, no. I didn't think it was suspendable or anything like that. I just meant like the blow he sustained was really bad.
I think I think, you know what? I still would have liked him to at least get a call, even if you just fine him. Fine, whatever.
Oh, a call from the league?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, I don't think that Ryjo went in there and specifically, headhunted Vlasic. I don't think that's the case. I just think, though, when you look at, you look at what the league is doing with the slashes of the hands, and I know people don't, a lot of people don't like it because, there's a lot of really weak penalties being called right now. But, this situation here, like, look at guys, they're calling these guys because guys were getting their hands mangled. Johnny Gaudreau mangled, Mark Mathot mangled, just from wax to the hand. You give a guy a call, give him a fine. Just, kind of, I wish they would apply that same diligence to shit that actually matters, like hits to the head. Yeah, maybe, I don't think he intended to do it. I don't think he was headhunting, but it was still a bad hit, and it's still a hit, even if it's not intended. You can't just, I don't think you should justify it. Well, he didn't intend to hurt him. That's great, but you still could have really badly. More, we don't know the extent of it, but I mean, that could have been so much worse. And I'm not saying that. Go ahead. It's all you.
Well, as it's the same kind of logic with, with penalties. I mean, how many players intend to high stick someone in the face? Probably zero, but you still get called for it. I mean, that's obviously a scaled down version of what you're saying, but it's the same kind of logic, just because you didn't mean to hurt him doesn't mean you didn't hurt him.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And that's how I feel. Like, I'm not angry about, oh, he didn't get suspended. I just wish that they would, even just call him, even if you don't fine him, or just call him. And then, that would be my take on it.
Well, maybe they did. Maybe they did. I don't know. I don't know if they would release that kind of information.
Shame them in public. Tars and feathers.
Oh no.
But I guess that brings the question now is I don't. It looks doubtful that Vlasic's going to play the next game, which I believe is Saturday.
Yep.
Okay. So it looks doubtful that Vlasic's going to play. That leaves a huge problem, in my opinion, because now you got to figure out who's going to play, and there's more righties than lefties at this point. So now you have to have a righty bottom pair or something.
Is Paul Martin ready to come back? Because I've heard the rumblings about him being close, but he hasn't been able to crack the lineup because of Joachim Ryan. So is this a possibility?
Well, I still think he's technically on injured reserve.
He is.
But I think his goal is to be back for Saturday. But I also did see that if he couldn't get back in Saturday, then he wants to get back in next week.
Okay.
So if Paul Martin can't go and Vlasic can't go, things are going to get dicey. Yeah.
Because I think with Martin, you move. I guess you'd put Joachim Ryan with Braun. Martin back with Burns.
I wouldn't mind
Martin with Braun.
Dylan.
I wouldn't mind Martin and Braun. I actually think I'd put Dylan with Braun and put Martin with Heed.
I could see that too.
Yeah, but they're both. Then you're going righty, lefty.
No. Martin's a lefty.
Oh yeah. Okay, you're right. I'm dumb.
He until he became a Shark, he was always a right side defenseman. But
right. I don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd like to see what Joachim Ryan can do, but I think you might be putting the kid in over his head too. But at the same time, I trust Joachim Ryan at this point more than I trust Paul Martin.
See, I disagree where you say Joachim Ryan's over his head, because he's played 10 games so far, and I can't recall one moment where he's had the rookie screw up, if you will, or he's just looked out of it. Like, he's looked like an NHL defenseman for all 10 of those games,
and he's played the minutes too. He logged. I think it was Zach tweeted out the other day that I'm pretty sure it was Zach. It could have been anybody. That Vlasic played like 18 minutes and Heed and Ryan
played over
25.
It's something. Yeah, I saw. I think someone tweeted that. Yeah.
I don't know who. I want to give credit to the right people. I'm just going to say Zach because Zach's our friend.
Yeah, that was astonishing when I saw that tweet too. I can't remember who, but that was awesome. That DeBoer is, DeBoer always and certainly takes a lot of flack from me about not having faith in young players, but he's certainly showing faith in both of the Barracuda top pair guys from last year, right, which is all that we wanted all last year.
I know.
That's all we wanted.
Jessica brings up a good point. I mean, Heed obviously has the more hold your breath moments, but that's his game, right? Like, he's not, he's the guy that's going to go and bomb it from the point, and you're going to need someone to come cover for him. Like, he's your power play quarterback kind of guy. He was never, last year when we were talking about the awesomeness of the Barracuda, we were never like, oh man, Tim Heed with the awesome shutdown play. Like, that never happened last year. At least not on this show.
Yeah. No, but the kids are doing great. I mean, you could say the same thing about Burns. Burns has those moments too, and he's been a veteran of 12 years or whatever.
Exactly.
Because even the Toronto game, I was actually rather critical about Brent Burns, because I think 25 minutes into the game, Joachim Ryan had already had 3 2-on-1s or 3-on-1s into the game, and it's like, come on, Brent, like, you. Thankfully, Joachim's holding his own here, but Kevin LeBanc is not the second defenseman on this pair here. Like,
and then we don't need that either. That Toronto game, I mean, I know we don't usually talk like games specifically, but like, I thought that was a nail biter at the end, because when you look at the they kept icing it, and you looked at, and with them icing it, obviously you can't do the line change, you can't have the timeout. And I was just really impressed with how composed Ryan looked there, because look at the Toronto has some just game-breaking talent on that lineup with Austin Matthews and everything else, and a 1-goal lead. Like, I wasn't comfortable with a 1-goal lead. Like, yeah, the Sharks dominated most of that game, but when that turned, like, I was at the edge of my seat for the last 5 minutes of that game, waiting for the bottom to fall out.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially in that last minute, I was watching the game, and the puck. I don't remember who shot it. It may have been Matthews shot it, and the puck looked like it went behind the net and disappeared for a second. So I got really nervous, like you said, that it had gone in, and I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, here are the Leafs scoring, without warning, like they have done the last 2 years, and thankfully the Sharks were able to hold on, and a large part of that, like you said, Joachim Ryan, but. Yeah, the Sharks didn't really do themselves any favors in that last couple minutes of that game.
Yeah.
No, they didn't. I mean, and most of that game, don't get me wrong, most of that game was solid, and the Leafs were really like, other than the last 5 minutes. I mean, I was talking to my buddy who's a Leafs fan, and a couple of my friends who are Leafs fan, and they said if it wasn't for Anderson, like that would have been a laugher. If the Sharks could find the back of the net.
Well, you know what? And I even during that game, I even tweeted it, and I'm pretty sure the last time the Sharks played the Maple Leafs, I tweeted it too, but basically said, just in case you forgot, since he left Anaheim, Frederik Andersen is good,
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing how under the radar he's flown the last couple of years.
Some interesting other stuff going on with obviously Martin Jones has been really, really good as of late, which I think we all kind of expected. I know I get flack all the time. Jones has a stand-up. Oh, not elite, Ian? I'm like, oh God, stop. We can't. The designation doesn't change after every game. But you know what? I have to give credit where it's due. I mean, for the terrible start that Martin Jones got off to, cringeworthy to be completely honest. He's really found his game again. It's just an issue of keeping it now, because we've seen him do this in spurts where he has these really lights out things, and then like any other goalie, he kind of goes into like 4 or 5 mode of just kind of soft goal here and there. Whereas like right now he's solid, and I'm rooting for him obviously to stay that way. But man, what a big impact he's had, because let's be honest. I mean, for the winnings, at least the wins are piling up, but the goals sure as hell aren't.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice that the Sharks have had, Couture, Donskoy, and Tim Heed to take over a game, but I would like to see more from Karlsson. I'd like to see more from LeBanc. I sure as hell would like to see some form of life from Timo Meier. And, we're getting into, the problems that the Sharks of 5 years ago had, where 3, 4, 5, 6 games in a row, it's pretty much the same guys who are doing everything. And, that it was supposed to be, this year was supposed to be, the committee effort year. And in my eyes, it's been all Donskoy and Couture. Yeah. So guys need to get going. And I mean, whether it's, don't want to speculate obviously, but whether there's some kind of ailment or whatever, you want guys to get going, especially the guys who started out really well, like LeBanc, or, guys who have a lot of respect to them. Like, I would like Pavelski to at least get close to 30 at least one more time in his career,
What and see, LeBanc's an interesting one, because LeBanc just keeps getting shuffled up and down the lineup too, which I don't think does him any favors. Like, right. Kevin LeBanc is one of those guys that he's completely useless in the bottom 6.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, he's useless in the bottom 6. He's a guy that you want to just, you want him on one of the top 2 lines, and that's where he's going to have success. And I know that sometimes like his hustle can be a little questionable, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know how he's supposed to succeed if they play him on the 4th line.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think Kevin LeBanc has played that bad. Now, I have missed the majority of the most recent games the last like week or so. I missed almost the whole road trip basically. So I don't know how exactly LeBanc played them, but from what I have seen though, even when he hasn't been scoring, I have at least noticed him positively contributing. I think his forecheck has improved tremendously over last year. I think he's getting more defensively responsible. I guess the one worry I would have with LeBanc is I hope he didn't fall into the Chris Tierney situation, where it's like he becomes so sided towards the little things of the game that he forgets how to score. Because I feel like Tierney sometimes gets ragged on. He doesn't score enough. He was supposed to be a playmaking center, blah, blah, blah. And I think it's just he's so shuffled into that bottom 6 role you're talking about that now that's the only part of his game.
But you got to give Tierney credit. I think Tierney's another guy that deserves a lot of credit, though, because
I think Tierney
on that
deserves
third line,
tremendous more respect than he gets.
Yeah, I think especially on that third line, like now that he's not being compared with complete garbage night in and night out. Because I mean, let's be honest. I mean, this is a guy that's basically centered garbage, whether it be, garbage, lots of garbage.
Who could forget Chris Tierney with John Scott and Andrew Desjardins?
That's what I mean. Or. Oh, I can't even think of names.
Well, he's had Melker on his line.
Yeah, and I like Melker. Don't get me wrong. I love Melker Karlsson. I think Melker Karlsson is a guy who I think he's really good no matter where you put him in the lineup.
Yeah,
you're going to get a good game out of Melker. I like Melker in the bottom six role. I think that sometimes people get a little down on him.
I think it just stems from him having his all-time best offensive season of his entire life in his first NHL season, and that's not an over-exaggeration. Look up the stats, folks. I think that really makes people go kind of crazy over Karlsson. I'm actually fine with the way Karlsson
I like Karlsson. I like what Karlsson does.
I like Karlsson too, and I'm starting to think that he's wearing out his welcome on the second line, because
that's
And what I
would be in the bottom six.
Yeah, I agree. And this is what I've noticed is, he consistently, like the previous two seasons, he scored around 10 goals playing primarily on the third and fourth lines. And then, that first year where he was on the top line, I mean, yeah, he got 15 and that's nice, but that's only 5 more than his career average. So if you're moving a guy up in the lineup with better players and you're only getting 5 more goals, probably means he should stay in the bottom six.
So Skylar asking about Timo Meier as trade bait, and okay. So here's my thing with Timo Meier. Get off Timo Meier's back. Okay, look at Timo Meier has a brutal shot selection. I get that, but everything else in his game would be sorely. If you took him out of the lineup, you would miss the other elements that he brings. Now look at. I understand he's a 9th overall pick, and as a 9th overall pick, you expect goals. That's completely fair. You cannot give up on this kid right now. The amount of people that want Timo traded, if you're trading Timo Meier, you need to trade him as a 9th overall pick. You need to trade him. If you're trading Timo Meier, you're looking at guys like maybe a Josh Hosang who can't get in the lineup quick, consistently in New York. You are not just trading Timo Meier as a part for nothing. Timo Meier, his shot selection has to improve. And I understand that people are upset, and I understand that people would rather see O'Regan up. Okay, I get O'Regan's going to score more goals, but there's a lot of things that Timo Meier does that are very important. A lot of the plays that happen that are positive for that line are because Timo Meier does the crappy work to make the play happen that doesn't make the highlight reel. It's where the highlight reel starts. And, to give up on this kid this early is just stupid. And sending him back to the AHL is even more stupid, because the shot selection is this problem. And the only way that he's ever going to correct this issue is shooting on NHL goalies, not going back to the AHL and shooting on substandard goalies to reinforce his crappy shot selection. That's the last thing you want to do with Timo Meier at this point. You got to be patient. The kid's what, 21? 20?
Yeah, 21.
21. Give him a break. He's going to be fine. He's one of the best forecheckers that I think we have on this team right now.
He's the only physical player on the Sharks.
And he's physical. Yeah, exactly.
Except for Dylan, but that's a completely different position. So
right. I think people really need to slow the roll on their Timo Meier hate and just be patient, because he's got all the other tools. The other tools are there. He just needs to figure out his shot selection. He figures out his shot, he's going to be a player. And he's already Timo Meier, you trade him, he's going to go, doesn't matter what team he goes to, that kid's going to be in that team's NHL lineup.
Yeah, and Skylar bringing up a point, maybe if he was moved to the middle six instead of the bottom six, I agree. I think Timo Meier should be with Hertl and Couture.
I absolutely agree with that.
I just don't understand how there's an expectation for players to succeed when they're not put into a place to succeed.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but Timo Meyer's not going to score 25 goals playing with Chris Tierney.
Nope. But look at, yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of problems. I mean, his shot selection is obviously a problem, but this is where coaching comes in. And these guys need to, Peter DeBoer needs to coach him and fix him and give him the time and the patience to work through it. Taking his ice time away, putting him in the press box every other game, you're not doing this kid any favors. He's got to work through it. Like, everyone can't just jump into the league and be awesome. It's just the way it is. Like, not everyone, everyone kind of progresses at their own pace. Yes, I mean, everyone was super jacked at the start of the season when Kevin Labanc was scoring all the goals. Well, now he's cooled off a little bit. You got to be patient with him too. Like, you got it. These kids, if you're gonna put these kids through their paces, they have to actually go through it, and they have to be allowed to trip and fall and get up and dust themselves off and try again. And I think that this fan base is far too reactionary when it comes to certain players, especially players that have high draft pedigree. And I get it. Look, at expectations are obviously going to be there, but you got to dial it back a little bit, I think, with Timo. That's just my opinion.
No, I agree with you 100%.
On the bright side, the Sharks have won an awful lot lately, and they're right now, they're looking like they're a playoff team when I said they would not make the playoffs. So they're above my estimate, and I'm happy about it.
Well, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but
okay, Wade Barrett.
I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I just want to point out that yes, the Sharks are currently third in the thing, and
Division.
They're in a three-way tie. Yeah, so they're in a three-way tie at 14, with 14 points, with two wildcard teams being Vancouver and Chicago, and then Anaheim, Colorado, Minnesota, Calgary, Nashville all have 12 points. So it's not like they're running away with their playoff position. That could change very quickly overnight. There's like so many teams condensed there. It's bad. Sorry,
they need to start beating Western Conference teams too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I like how they've been doing. I think the Sharks, their power play, the second power play unit's been good. Their penalty killing's been fantastic. Martin Jones has been fantastic. Burnsy needs to put the puck in the net, but he will. I mean, he didn't just forget how to play hockey. So you know what? It's when the Sharks do good, it's good. But it's not good?
The Barracuda.
The Barracuda are not good.
Jeez, yeah, they are not.
If you want to talk about, if you think the Sharks have power play problems, you probably want to avoid a Barracuda game at this point. Barracuda power play has been abysmal. Now look at, obviously they're missing some pieces that, as players, get healthy, they might, come back in, like Rourke Chartier missing. Not cool. Doesn't help them at all.
Well, also too, no Joachim Ryan, no Tim Heed,
right.
no Barclay Goodrow, no Ryan Carpenter, no Buddy Robinson.
Well, you got True. I mean, that's a washout.
Thank you for including Buddy Robinson in that. That just made my night right there.
I love Buddy Robinson. No, look at here's the problem is the problem with the Barracuda is they can't score. And the games that I've watched, I didn't see the game last night because if it's Sharks versus, if it's Sharks or Barracuda, I'm watching the Sharks. I love the Barracuda, but let's be honest, the NHL's the league I'm gonna watch as the primary focus. My take on them, I mean, look at there's a lot of new faces on that Barracuda offensive line, and that's going to take some time to gel. And some of the they face some pretty darn good goalies too. But at the same time, I always feel like, when you go 4 games in a row and be like, oh man, hot goalie. Yeah, maybe you got to start looking at the offense a little. I'm a little bit concerned with the number of starts that Bibo has had.
Well,
because he started again last night.
Well, according to Hockey News Yearbook, they're right on par because Troy Grosnick doesn't even exist. And Antoine Bibeau was the de facto number 3 goalie for the.
Ooh.
But
Well,
so I guess in that respect, Hockey News got it right.
Hockey News got it right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. Have you guys talked to Zach? Has he heard anything
I
about
haven't had a
Grosnick
chance.
injury or something? Because I don't know what's going
I
on
haven't
there.
read anything to that effect. So
The
I
only
don't
thing-
know.
The only thing I can think is maybe they, maybe Roy Sommer realized that he ran him into the ground last year, and he's trying to be careful with how much he uses Grosnick. And I think, I think they Barracuda have that luxury, because if you say to me, okay, pick Antoine Bibeau or Mantis Armalis, I'm taking Antoine Bibeau. And
Sure.
I will say, in the preseason, and Bibeau, I was nervous because he was exhibiting some similar characteristics that Armalis was exhibiting. And, Zach and I had a DM conversation about that specific topic. And then fast forward for a couple games into this regular season, Bibeau's getting starts, and at least the games at home, Bibeau started to look like a backup goalie who is actually worth keeping around, and I think the team, the staff, I think they really trust Bibeau to start a good chunk of these, games in the first half of the season. And then maybe once the calendar year turns, they'll rely on Grosnick more when it starts to get serious.
Yeah, I mean, it just concerns me because of how heavily Grosnick was utilized last year. To have him not be utilized as much now concerns me, especially when you consider like they're just not finding wins. Also, and not that that's on Bibeau at all, because honestly, despite the fact that the Barracuda are averaging, I think, 4 goals against a game, like I've been very complimentary of the goaltending. The goaltending's actually been pretty good. They're just not getting any run support.
See, I'm of the opposite thought, and this also may be because I haven't been able to catch a Barracuda game for at least a week, but I feel like the goal scoring for the Barracuda has been pretty much on lock, at least for the top 2 lines, and it's been the defense that's been very questionable. I mean, Shimmick has not been what we expected him to be, and even Middleton and DeSimone, there's obvious growing pains going from the third pair to the top pair, and Julius Bergman is Julius Bergman, so
right. I mean,
Shimmick still worries me.
Veteran.
Yeah, Julius Bergman, the grizzled veteran.
Shimmick, I look at him and I feel like he has too many Sandis Ozelinch qualities and not the good ones. I like Shimmick, and I do think he's got potential, but I mean, for being an older player who's had a lengthy career over in the Czech Republic, you'd think he, by now, if he had a defensive side to his game, it'd be there already.
Okay. So Vince G is saying that Grosnick is expecting a baby. Well, if he's expecting a baby, then I guess I got to get off his back a little bit. I mean, congratulations to you, Mr. Grosnick. I guess then that would make a lot more sense, which makes me feel a little bit better. The other problem is, though, I mean, yeah, look at the defense. It's pretty green, and DeSimone is not like DeSimone. I really like DeSimone. I've been very complimentary on DeSimone on this page a bajillion, on this podcast a bajillion times, but Tim Heed, he is not. And then him getting hurt, like only just, there's no transition. I think I said that last time we were on. The one major problem with their game right now is the transition. Is if the forwards aren't carrying the puck out of the defensive zone into the offensive zone, it's not getting there. Otherwise it's just dump chase and hope to God they don't just, it doesn't just come back into your own end, because that's been a lot of what the Barracuda have had to do with the defensive absences is you gotta resort to a dump chase. If you can't carry the puck out of your zone, then you have to dump and chase. That's the only other option you have. In the chat, is this how much this blames on Sommer? I'm not going to beg on Roy Sommer here. Roy Sommer has basically a brand new team from last year with a lot of young. I mean, this team. Am I wrong? Is it not the youngest team again in the AHL?
No, to my knowledge, they're the 4th youngest. I haven't looked this up, but yeah, they're still down there.
They're way down there. Like they got so many guys playing their first year of pro hockey that there's going to be pain. You look at the big parts of last year's team; they're not playing. Barclay Gaudreau is stuck in the press box. Kevin LeBanc isn't going back down. Timo Meyer's not going back down. Rourke Chartier's out, and that hurts a lot. But then there's other guys like Ryan Carpenter, who's a big part, probably, again, isn't going back down. So, you're really leaving it up to a bunch of, Marcus Sorensen and a bunch of kids. And, and you look at other players that need to get going, like obviously like John McCarthy needs to get going.
John McCarthy is always a second half player though. I know,
but I mean, like, if there's a guy that they need more than anything, like that's a guy they need to get going like now. If you wanted to say, what does the Barracuda need the most right now? They need John McCarthy now.
And while we're on the subject of players, man, how much better has Adam Haluka looked this year?
Adam Haluka is great.
Adam Haluka is probably probably the best player on the team right now. Like
he's definitely one of them.
He's at point per game. I think from last season to this season, I think he's eliminated a lot of the streakiness aspect of his game. I think he's more physically mature. I think he's harder on pucks. I think he is, in general, he just looks better everywhere. And I know Zach chatted with him, and I guess there was some change to his workout regimen and diet and that sort of thing. So Adam, it's working. Keep doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And look at they still have talent. I mean, Daniel Regan's still down there, and he's likely stuck down there for a while. So I think that's going to be good. They needed to, look at eventually at some point the blue line's going to get healthy, and the Sharks are going to have to send someone back down. And that likely is unfortunately Joachim Ryan because of waiver and stick-handedness. That's going to help a lot. They might have the DeMello. They might lose. They could lose to waivers though.
But I think at this point the Sharks are comfortable in letting that happen.
I would be if I was Doug Wilson. I would totally be fine to losing DeMello either via trade or waivers at this point, because I feel like I don't know why you would want to send Joachim Ryan back down at this point.
Right.
But I also don't want him sitting in the press box as my 7th D either.
No.
So decisions. But yeah, overall, Barracuda haven't won a game since the last time we've recorded. But there's some players, there's talent there. It's just trying to get these new players all kind of meshing together. And I feel like, even though, again, this is kind of like the Sharks, man, their penalty kill has been just insanely good. So there's lots of little tiny things that you can kind of grasp onto to get your hopes up for the team. I think that this team can still be competitive in the Pacific Division. I don't think they're going to steamroll the league like they did last year, but they should be competitive. They should be more competitive than they are now. And I don't know. I wouldn't write off the Barracuda just yet.
Yeah,
I agree.
And I'm trying to pull this up as fast as I speak here, but to my knowledge, none of the top teams in the AHL last year are doing very well this year, except for Providence. Oh, Wilkes-Barre is 6-2. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, I mean it's hard, right? Because in a minor league like that, where your primary role is to feed your affiliate, it's hard to be good consistently because your good players are always going to get taken for the big club. Yeah. That's just the nature that's the joys of being a development league, and that's what makes it difficult to be a fan, because you can't really get attached to players. Like for me, I watch the Barracuda because I want to watch the baby Sharks. Like I want to watch the Sharks prospects more than the AHL journeyman, right? Yeah. But if and being in San Jose, you're lucky because you guys have both teams in the one place. Whereas I think if you've lived in a city that just had an AHL team, that'd be a hard follow, because you're just constantly, your best players, you're going to lose them. Even watching junior hockey is kind of the same with me. It's hard because your team can go from one year being this just firecracker to being a complete dog in a year, just because of pro turnover. Yeah, and it sucks. It sucks, but that's the joys of cheering for a development league team, and that's kind of what you have to go in accepting.
Yeah,
and a lot of people can't. I get that. Teach their own.
Look at the Ontario Reign. I mean, this is a team. I've known you guys for 2 years now, and what have I said? Ontario defensively, so stacked. Those guys are so good, and now all those guys are either on the Kings or have moved on to other AHL towns, and Ontario has the worst team in the entire league. And that's a team that made the playoffs last year.
Right.
So it's hot and cold. So
And Jack Campbell.
and oh man, I gotta get my boy Cal Peterson some more starts.
Man. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of my take on the Barracuda, though. It's not. Don't write them off yet. They're fine. They're gonna be fine. I promise. Just give them some more time.
Yeah.
Give Timo Meier some more time. God, I'm gonna start jumping on you people on Twitter. Just no, I'm not. I don't fight on Twitter. Other than that, though, Kevin, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about Henrik Lundqvist, who's having a rough time in New York. Well, I think everyone in New York's having a rough time right now.
Yeah. So I don't really have any. This is this total freelance conversation. First off, I wanted to say
what we do best.
Sorry, folks. I had to turn the chat off, the chat window off for me because my internet connection was lagging hardcore. So thank you all for tuning in tonight. And if you know anyone who likes listening to random guys who pretend to know what they're talking about, talk about the Barracuda, talk about the Sharks, talk about Henrik Lundqvist in a moment, whatever, please subscribe to Teal Tinted Glasses or tell them to subscribe because we like to entertain. We like to chat with you, chat with each other. You know, it's a great fun time. So thank you for being a part of this evening. Now, Henrik Lundqvist, what's up?
Did Kevin die?
Okay. So anyway, no, I heard someone said something and I stopped. But Henrik Lundqvist, like, I watch the Rangers games a lot when I can watch hockey. I watch a lot of the Rangers games, and that's simply because I freaking love Sam Rosen on commentary. Like, he is just my favorite. Outside of maybe Chris Cuthbert, Sam Rosen's my guy. So I listen to the Rangers all the time. Henrik Lundqvist looks so miserable. Like, he looks like he is not enjoying hockey at all, and it's really sad to see. And he's 35 years old. The Rangers are on the decline. The Rangers have no goaltending prospects outside of Shesterkin, who is stuck in Hartford, and that's not a good situation. There hasn't been for years. So my question to you guys is, what do the Rangers do if Lundqvist continues to deteriorate, his play continues to deteriorate, he doesn't look comfortable, he doesn't look happy? Should they go out and get another goalie? Should they part ways with Lundqvist after this contract is over? What do they need to do to fix that situation? And is Lundqvist still good enough to carry the load in New York?
Well, I think they have to part ways with him one way or another because after this season, he's got 3 more years, which will put him at 39 years old, which, as we've all seen before, 39-year-old NHL goalies don't tend to do very well. I personally haven't watched any Rangers game besides the game that they played against the Sharks, so I'm essentially taking Kevin's word for it here. But we saw last season where, you know, Lundqvist had a lot of time off in favor of Antti Ranta, and, you know, the argument was made so that he could be fresh for playoffs. Well, you know, playoffs come around, and I mean, he was okay, you know, and the Rangers with Lundqvist, they got themselves into a situation that Vancouver got themselves in with Roberto Luongo, where they signed him to the big contract. And not to say that he's the worst goalie ever, but he's not as good as he once was. And unfortunately, they're stuck with him. I don't know any team who wants a 36-year-old goalie for 3 more years at $8.5 million, unless you're the Dallas Stars. But
wow.
But even then, like, they already have Ben Bishop and Kerry Lettinen holding on to that mantle. So even if the Rangers wanted to trade Henrik Lundqvist, good luck finding a team to take him. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe if he retires before the deal is up, the Rangers will get a cap penalty.
Yes.
Well, no, was the deal signed? But that deal.
Does it have to be signed before?
It has to be signed after you're 35. If you sign a deal at 35 or older, that's when that kicks in.
Okay.
Got it. Well, never mind then.
So no, look at I mean, Jerk kind of just hit a lot of the things I was gonna say. As much I think, if anything, you kind of have to deal like Lundqvist is kind of still the guy there, and you're gonna have to basically build around that. And I don't know if that's a recipe for success at this point. My opinion is you would have to. Sorry, Alain Vigneault, if you're not working by the next time we record, it's my fault. I apologize.
Which is very likely to happen, knowing our track record.
I think Alain Vigneault is the guy that has to go there. They need to, I don't know what the relationship is between Vigneault and Lundqvist, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm a super expert about the New York Rangers. I honestly have no idea. I watch way more West Coast hockey than East Coast hockey, despite being in the Eastern time zone. I think that, Lundqvist, look at, he controls his destiny. $8.5 million cap hit. So he gets to choose his destination. He has that wicked caps hit for a goalie who has declined a little bit.
Yeah.
And you've made that bed, you kind of have to lay in it now. So I think if you're going to start making changes in New York, I think you pray that a new voice behind the bench might spark something. Look what happened. I mean, even though, in LA, I mean, the coach has been there the whole time because he was the associate coach, but look at the difference in Dustin Brown now that Darryl Sutter's gone. You hope for that kind of a resurgence.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think that's what you have to do at this point with Lundqvist.
Yeah, I worry about them falling into like the New Jersey Devils territory where they hung on to Martin Brodeur for so long. And Martin Brodeur was still a good NHL goalie, but he wasn't the man the last 4 or 5 years. Even the year that the Devils went to the Stanley Cup, Brodeur had still lost a step.
Oh, so for sure. Here's the thing, though. You're New York. So New York is always going to be able to attract player talent. Like, they're always going to be able to bring guys in.
Right.
Whereas New Jersey, not so much.
Right. But I just mean, like, should they go out and do what New Jersey did and get a second number one goalie? And because I mean, New Jersey obviously got Corey Schneider, and
they have Andre Pavlik. Come on,
Andre Pavlik, second number one NHL goalie.
So
no disrespect to Pavlik, but yeah.
In keeping with the Winnipeg connection, and mainly because I believe
Steve
it was
Mason.
God no.
Oh.
I believe it was AO who said that Ian wasn't talking about the Winnipeg Jets enough. So for all intents and purposes,
trying not to summon Drew. We're out of time here, people. You can't summon Drew.
For all intents and purposes, Connor Hellebuyck is the starter.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Could you see the New York Rangers take a chance on a guy like an Eric Comrie?
No, they need a guy now. They don't need a maybe. They need.
I mean, that's no different than Shesterkin. I like I like that poll on Comrie because he did have a very solid year for Manitoba last year.
Mm-hmm.
Or even a guy, and I guess this goes against needing a guy now, but maybe they ride it out with Lundqvist, and maybe an Eric Comrie is ready or maybe an Alex Nedeljkovic is ready in 3 years.
Yeah, I mean that's I mean that's something that you could definitely consider because I feel like you're stuck with Lundqvist for better or worse. Unless he retires, you're stuck with him.
Right.
So you got to get a feeling for what he wants to do. I foresee him playing it out, which is why I think you need to make a trade and you need to make a coaching change and see if that see if he finds his smile again.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, he always looks aggravated every time the camera is on him right now, and that cannot be good for. I mean, who knows if that locker room is becoming toxic at that point and it's bleeding out on the ice, and that's why the Rangers are losing so much. But yeah. Coaching change, just get something going.
I don't know what they need. I just feel like this team, like, it's been struggling for a while. Look, it's not even, I don't think it's Alain Vigneault's fault. I think the problem is in the GM's chair, to be completely honest, when it comes to the New York Rangers. But coaches are hired to be fired. Coaches, eventually especially a guy like Vigneault, he's definitely in that group of coaches where he's going to wear out his welcome eventually.
Yeah.
He's just, like he's a good coach, but he can be kind of a prickly guy.
Yeah.
And eventually that will, eventually if everyone starts to kind of tune him out because they just all hate him suddenly, he needs to go. It happens. I mean, you look at Scotty Bowman's been fired.
Yeah.
Like Scotty Bowman was fired multiple times. Daryl Sutter's been fired, Joel Quenneville is eventually going to get fired.
Blasphemy.
I know. I'm sorry. Like it happens. Coaches get fired all the time. Mike Babcock probably would have been fired if he didn't leave on his own accord.
Claude Julien will get fired and be replaced.
Oh, that's where I was going with this. I was gonna say, well, when Alain Vigneault gets fired, he won't have to wait too long because he'll be the next bring back guy for the Montreal Canadiens since they have to cycle through the same 3 coaches.
Well, and Michel Therrien's a scout for them, so it's not like he's far behind either.
He's going over for Mark Bergevin. I've already said this.
Yeah.
5. All right. We should probably get out of here, though. But this was awesome. It was nice to have the whole crew on. Nice to have everyone on in the chat. Again, apologize for our absence last week. Sometimes these things just happen. But yeah, so cool. Final thoughts, guys. Kevin, go first.
All right, so I totally brain farted when I was last on a few weeks ago on my final thoughts. So one was that back from Slovenia, Big Spence is with the Allen Americans. I forgot to say that. Yeah, so who knows?
Bring him back.
If the Barracuda make the playoffs, look for that recall from from Allen. I still can't believe they didn't switch to the Dallas Americans this year. I don't know what happened with the changeover there. So in that theme, you mentioned Mantas Armalis earlier. I'm just going to randomly pick the Dinamo Riga Hockey Club from the KHL. Mantas Armalis in 2 starts so far. He's 0-2 with 5 goals against and a sub-900 save percentage. Also of note, our former Sharks hands, Carl Stollery, 8 points in 28 games. Let's see here. There was Nikita Yevpalov, who I did not even realize signed with Dinamo, has 5 points in 23 games. Ugh. TJ Galliardi with 6 assists, no goals in 11 games. And even former Sharks second-round pick William Wren, who got released last week by Dinamo, minus 13 in 21 games, only 1 point. That's why he got released, and that's why the Sharks let him go all those years. So there's your random ex-Sharks connection to Dinamo Riga thing. I'm at Kevin Lacey 22, and thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, man. Excellent. Mr. Hockey Jerk.
All right. Well, in AO's chat posting about Ian not talking about Winnipeg enough, he also mentioned how I should talk about why the Penguins aren't as good this year as they were last year. So that's going to be hour 2. That's going to be gold, not yellow, tinted glasses.
Yes.
And we'll be talking all kinds of stuff. Is Matt Murray elite? Probably. Can another nameless player score 20 goals playing with Crosby? You'll find out.
Yeah.
you can
Carter Rowney, 20 goals, calling it.
Yeah, foreseen.
Josh Archibald,
Josh Archibald. Ryan Reeves.
Absolutely.
You can follow me on Twitter at hockey_jerk. I just tweeted a TTG poll, so go check that out. Your response is always appreciated. And I'm not a Penguins fan. Back to you, Ian.
And then in hour 3 of Air Force Blue Tinted Glasses, I will talk about Kyle Connor for an hour and just how much I like the kid. Because if I talk about Connor Hellebuck, Drew will appear, and we can't.
Well, and I already mentioned Alex Nedeljkovic, so that's 2 out of 3.
We've already summoned Drew. I gotta stop this. All right, guys. As always, we appreciate you taking the time to listen. Be sure if you look at there's a lot of Sharks podcasts out there right now. So the fact that you've chosen to, take time out of your day to listen to ours always makes us feel all nice and special inside. If you would like to give other people that special feeling for 50 cents a day, just remember that if you have friends that like podcasts and like hockey and may like a hockey podcast about the Sharks and the NHL, that you should tell them about Teal Tinted Glasses. Ask your doctor about Teal Tinted Glasses. And if they do, need Teal Tinted Glasses, then maybe the friends need Teal Tinted Glasses too. And maybe their friends need Teal Tinted Glasses. We all need Teal Tinted Glasses. All right, guys. Be sure to subscribe. Hit up the... Yes, exactly. But this is the only Sharks podcast that's going to cover the Jets and the Penguins and talk about Vegas probably more than we should. Again, we appreciate you guys tuning in. If you know people that like hockey, like podcasts, like I said, get them to subscribe. Lure them in. Your questions obviously help the show go. So be sure that you get your questions in, because we are always happy to answer your questions. We can talk about anything for an hour, but talking about things that you want to that you would like us to talk about for an hour is obviously much better. I am at Ian Blogs Hockey on the Twitter machine. You can find my written work on Puck Pros. Be sure to check it out because that's what keeps the lights on here. Other than that,
Happy Movember.
Happy Movember. Peace out.